So we're going to get into saints. There's been many known through the years. The approximate number of saints is over 10,000. What I'm going to do is go through the most popular ones, what they are the patronage for, which means what they stand for: the sick, the weak, sailors, travelers, anything like that. And first we're going to look at what it takes to become one. Okay. The steps to becoming a saint. In the Catholic Church, the process by which someone becomes a saint is called canonization. This process entails 5 steps, which are as follows. First, a local bishop inspects the candidate's life in search of proof of their virtue. This information is shared to the Vatican. Number 2, the candidate's life is further evaluated by a panel of theologians and cardinals and of the Congregation of Cause of Saints. So cardinals of the Congregation for the Cause of Saints. Number 3, upon approval from the panel, the Pope declares the candidate as venerable, meaning they are a paragon of Catholic virtues. 4, beatification is the next step towards sainthood, allowing the person to be honored in regions by other groups. It must be proven, however, that the person has performed a miracle after their passing. This rule does not apply to martyrs. Number 5, in order to be deemed a saint, they must also be responsible for a second miracle. They are then canonized. There are some new ways I believe the new Pope is implementing that you become a saint. Mother Teresa, for example, was our last great saint. That was the most popular, obviously, but we're going to get into a list of saints over time, and this is both male and female. So let's get to that. Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc there's patronages. Patronage is France, martyrs, captives, military personnel, people ridiculed for their pity, prisoners, soldiers, women who have served in the waves, women accepted for volunteer emergency service, in the Women's Army Corps. So that was Joan of Arc. Saint Andrew. What is Saint Andrew? Saint Andrew is just not the patron saint of Scotland. He's the patron saint of Greece, Russia, Italy's Amalfi, and the Barbados, as well as other countries. He's the patron saint of singers, spinsters, maidens, fishmongers, fishermen, women wanting to be mothers, gout and sore throats. Saint Francis. Francis is the patron of animals, merchants, and ecology. He's also considered the patron against dying alone, against fire, patron of the Franciscan Order of the Catholic Action, of families, peace, and needleworkers, and a number of religious congregations. Teresa, I don't know how to pronounce this right. It's Teresa of Lisieux, or Teresa of Lisieux. She's the patron saint of missions and florists. Teresa was the youngest of 9 children, 5 of whom survived childhood. So, Saint Anthony of Padua. He's Anthony of Padua. He's especially invoked and venerated all over the world as a patron saint for the recovery of lost items, and is credited with many miracles involving lost people, lost things, and even lost spiritual goods. Saint Bernadette Subirius. She was declared venerable by Pope Pius V in 1913 and beatified on June 14, 1925 by Pope Pius VI. She is the patron for the ill, the poor, sheep tenders, and those ridiculed for their pity. Her feast day is February 18th. That's Saint Bernadette. Saint Joseph. Joseph is the patron saint of the Universal Church, families, fathers, expected mothers, travelers, immigrants, house sellers and buyers, craftsmen, engineers, and working people, among others. Saint Patrick. Saint Patrick, who lived during the 5th century, is the patron saint of Ireland and its national apostle. Born in Romania and Britain, he was kidnapped and brought to Ireland as a slave at 16. He returned to Ireland and was credited with bringing Christianity to his people. It is also believed that he introduced the concept of arches to Irish builders, giving them the knowledge they need to build the traditional stone arches that still dot the Irish countryside today. Because of this, the Catholic Church has deemed him the patron saint of engineers. Saint Catherine of Siena. Saint Catherine of Siena is her patronage is against fire, bodily ills, Diocese of Allentown, Pennsylvania. Wow. USA. Europe, illness, Italy, Bang Bang, Nueva Vizcaya, Philippines, Samal, Bataan, Philippines, miscarriages, people ridiculed for their pity, sexual temptation, sick people, sickness, and nurses. Catherine of Siena is one of the only 4 women who were named Doctor of the Church, meaning that her writings, including her mystical, the dialogue, and her prayers and letters, have special authority of Roman Catholicism. Saint Teresa of Avalia. Saint Teresa, Spain. Patronage is there Spain, sick people in religious orders, people ridiculed for their pity, lace makers, Požega, Croatia, Talise City, Cebu in the Philippines. Saint Agnes of Rome. Because of the legend around her martyrdom, Saint Agnes is the patron saint of those seeking chastity and purity. She's also the patron saint of young girls and young scouts. Girls, chastity, and virgins, victims of sexual abuse, betrothed couples. Saint Agnes. Saint Dominic, astronomers, Archdiocese of Fuzhou, astronomy, Dominican Republic, Santo Domenico Pueblo, Valletta, Burgu Malta, Campania, Calabria, Managua, Saint Maria Goretti, victims of rape, crime victims, teenage girls, modern youth, children of Mary. Saint Lucy. Lucy means light. Saint Lucy, also known as Saint Lucia or Saint Lucia, is the patron saint of the blind. Saint Nicholas is the Saint Nicholas is the patron saint of sailors, merchants, archers, repentant thieves, children, brewers, pawn makers, and students in various cities and countries around Europe. Saint Clare of Assisi. Saint Clare of Assisi is the patron saint of televisions and computer screens, believe it or not. An early follower of Saint Francis, she's the one that founded the Order for Poor Ladies, which eventually became known as the Poor Clares. Saint Cecilia. On November 22nd of each year, the Roman Catholic Church celebrates the feast of Saint Cecilia, on whom it has bestowed the dual patron sainthood of blindness and music. Saint Peter. As a former fisherman, he is the patron saint of net makers, shipbuilders, and fishermen. And because he holds the keys of heaven, he is also the patron saint of locksmiths. Possibly he is said to have walked on water with Jesus. He is the patron saint of cobblers and those with foot problems. Saint Christopher. Saint Christopher is the patron saint of travelers, including motorists, who sometimes hang a small image of him in their vehicle for luck. Saint Barbara. Barbara was adopted as the patron saint of miners, probably because the mining profession had to cope with many hazards in their life those days. Also, miners formed a large part of those whom she prayed in the hours of her own death. Saint Barbara also became the patron saint of artillerymen. She's also traditionally the patron of armorers, military engineers, gunsmiths, miners, and anyone who has worked with a cannon or explosives. She's invoked against thunder and lightning and all accidents arising from explosions and gunpowder. Saint Francis de Sales. He's a patron saint of adult education, the deaf, and journalists. Bridget of Kildare. She's the patronage of many things, including poetry, learning, healing, protection, blacksmithing, livestock, and dairy production. The saint shares her name with a Celtic goddess, Bridget of Kildare. This one's hard to pronounce. Aloysius Gonzaga. Pope Benedict VIII canonized Aloysius Gonzaga, and 3 years later declared him the patron saint of youth and students, an honor later confirmed by Pope Pius VI in 1926. So it's Alioso. Saint Jerome. Jerome, patron saint of librarians and libraries, as well as archivists, translators, and encyclopedists. September 30th is celebrated as a feast day in the Catholic Church. St. Paul. St. Paul is the patron saint of missionaries, evangelists, writers, and public workers. His feast day is on June 29th. St. Jude. In the Roman Catholic Church, he's the patron saint of desperate causes and lost causes. St. Jude's Attributes is a club. St. Jude's Attribute is a club. He's also shown in icons with a flame around his head. So that's St. Jude, lost causes. St. James, son of Zebedee, disciple of Jesus Christ and later canonized by St. James the Greater, is the patron saint of both Spain and Galicia. James is known in Spanish as Santiago. He's also the patron saint of Guatemala, Nicaragua, and fishermen. So that's a list that I compiled. Remember, there's over 10,000 total that have been canonized. And I hope you learned a couple things, like the reason why some people wear the medallions on their necks and other things like that, and why we have the saints named, the church is named after saints, and statues were carved and other things like that in their honor. But this has been a small categorization of saints and their patronages, and just a little info on saints. I might get deeper into this. I'm going to a library. I'm going to a bookstore tomorrow, and I might have to pick something, either a prayer book or a saint book. I'm not really sure. So I'll get into some more whenever I hope all of you are blessed, and that your personal saint, favorite personal saint, or who you need guides you. God bless.